All right, season is done, so we figured we'd catch up with the head football coach. How you doing?
Fantastic. So far, so good.
When do you actually consider the season to be done?
It is for sure over. I think once the portal closes, that would be my take on when the season ends. But yeah, it's weird just because this is all new territory for everybody. You know, the one portal window. It's even some of your thought process goes to like, why do you need to wait till fall camp to start a lot of your programming? You don't really. You have your team now, which is great. It's set for the year now, so you can really kind of start a lot of the programming and procedure stuff now, and it's a whole new start and hit and reset all over again.
When you look back at the season, what did you think?
Oh man, learned a lot. It was awesome. It was. I'm not kidding you. It was as fun of a year as I've had in my life, just as far as all the different hats you have to wear as the head coach. You know, I didn't get to do quite as much of the football as I wanted to. You know, when you get into this, you coach because you want to coach and have the one-on-one relationships. But really, you know, in my assessment of the program, for me to go coach the O-line or really be involved in the offense or anything like that, I was gonna have to take away other parts from the program that needed help. So I really kind of spent my time between 6 different areas during the course of the year, and you know, I think we're in a very healthy spot. Like I said, it wasn't a rebuild when I got here. When we got here, it was much more of a renewal, and you see a lot of those things as far as like the recruiting pipelines and tweaks that we've made there, and reaching out to our alumni and our fans, engaging our fans, and building our brand on social media, and our brand on the football field, and people learning, I guess, who we are and what we're about. It was a long, thorough process, and then you throw having a daughter on top of it and buying a house at the same time. We move in 1 week from today, so that should be pretty exciting. So yeah, a lot accomplished in the first year.
Anything else that you can fit into one full year? I mean, you did everything.
The other part that was crazy was when I first got hired here is we lost. Let's see. Coach Coleman went to the Carolina Panthers. Coach Doyle went the day camp started to the Buffalo Bills. Coach Blaney left to the Jets. I'm pretty sure there's one more in there that I'm forgetting. Coach Robbins left to go to Minnesota. So, I mean, like, it's just crazy. I mean, even in the first year, how much turnover there is. And we have already, with the portal, what's crazy is, you know, you play our bowl game against Northwestern. The next day we have our exit interviews. We get 24, I think it was, guys, 26 guys, something like that in the portal. So between your senior class and the portal group, you're replacing over 50% of your roster in a year. So, you know, Ben Johnson, I just watched those guys, the Bears this past weekend against the Rams. And Ben Johnson we were just talking about this as a staff, but he hit on it where it's like, man, there are some elements you can build on, but really it's starting over. Like it's not how it works. It's new staffs, it's new coaches, your whole player, new players, same thing for all your opponents, new schedule, new injuries. Like it really doesn't work like that. So it's really starting. It's year one, the second time around. So that's really how we kind of see it.
Yeah, year to year rather than more of the continuity that we probably used to see. All right, so for the season, what memories or what pops in your mind for the actual games that you were just like, wow, these were moments that were pretty special?
I mean, the first one at San Jose State was great just because it was the first one and we won. But that was great to like find out where we really were. You know what I mean? Because that's where all the talking has to stop and you actually see how you're going to play. And you know, I thought the other thing that was really cool during the year was Coach Riedel, our strength coach, does such a phenomenal job of, you know, all of our players wear these little tiny GPS units in between their shoulder blades on game days and practices. So we can chart everything from high speed distance to player load to change direction to total distance covered, how much duration they're sprinting, all of that. So our kids were playing harder and faster in our bowl game and in the last game against Toledo than they were in game one. So we were getting stronger and faster during the year. So just watching our kids be able to do that and see it in real time unfold, like what we're doing is working and how we're eating and how we're recovering and lifting and practicing. You know, as frustrating as the Akron game was for us to be able to bounce right back and get out there at Bowling Green, that was a great win. The Western game was crazy. I know it didn't go our way, but for Madison to be born, and then I got there right before kick. I had the best week ever until that fourth and goal from the 7 where they hit that touchdown. Until then, I was having about the best week you could ever imagine. But just and to finally to see that rivalry in person, like what that actually is, because you hear how much it means to everybody from Central, but to like actually go down in Kalamazoo and you see it. And you get to feel that rivalry, man. Like if that doesn't make you fall in love with college football and be romantic about this, I don't know. You're in the wrong spot. But and then the Buffalo win was huge, just because it was a great game at home, and then that sealed us, making us bowl eligible. And then the Kent State victory was crazy because that was another MAC one, and then that secured a winning season for the first time in a while here. So just a lot of positives to take away. But yeah, just and then. Those are the team, but just watching all of our kids like do so well, like that to me is the neatest part. Is like I think about when I sat in this room the first day I got hired, I met with 72 players, and then I watched those guys like in my conversations with them in the bowl prep, the Kwiatkowskis and Heldmans and Dakota Cochrans and Caleb Spann, the Eli Ricards and Joe Labus. I mean, it was so cool watching those guys, how much they changed in 1 year about how they did everything, and to watch those guys flourish and have a ton of success. So just to me, all of those things, like the whole staff, we had a good time and learned and trying to get better all the time. So a lot of positive to take away, but not a whole lot of time to catch your breath either.
Yeah. This last year has had to have felt like a whirlwind for you. Like you've gotten so much done, you've done so much new as a person, but you don't get very much time off.
No, they drag that thing out. I was telling my wife yesterday, I'm like, dude, there are kids who have to play college football tonight, the same season that we were just playing in, which is insane to think about that they get stretched that far. But yeah, we got done on the 27th, and then the portal opened, so we were recruiting like crazy for basically 2 straight weeks. And then that ends, and we get a week to kind of catch our breath, and then we're on the road recruiting. So no, it doesn't ever really stop or slow down, which is why I think the balance piece of it now, it doesn't take a very educated person to look at an NCAA football calendar and realize you got to start building in some checks and balances and some relief valves. Otherwise you go crazy throughout the year. But Connor Hughes, the strength coach at Army, used to tell the players, college football is a life of 1s and 10s. If you want a life of 5s, go sell insurance somewhere. And I always thought that was a great quote, because that's really what it is. It's like, I can't complain because I'm surrounded by incredible people at a great place every day. And it's, what else would you rather be doing? It's a ton of fun.
You think about the national championship earlier this week. Fun that you get to go down to Hard Rock Stadium in September. Maybe less fun that you got to play the national runner-up in September.
Nah, it'll be a great challenge. As an O-line guy, I'll tell you this, like Coach Cristobal and Coach Mirabal down there, the 2 O-line guys, like that's like royalty. You know what I mean? To get a coach in a game against those guys. Plus, that's as good of a football team as literally as there is on the planet Earth. Watching Miami run around, those talented guys, really well coached. Really exciting. So we'll get a chance to go down there next year and get to play those guys and face those. And to me, that is a great experience. That will never change in college football, about when you get to play those blue blood programs that you've been seeing Jimmy Johnson and Ray Lewis and Ed Reed and those guys for your entire lives. To me, that's a cool thing to share the field, to share the field with those guys and get a chance to go to battle and compete. And boy, they were impressive watching those guys play against Indiana earlier this week. It was a fun game to watch.
Is it kind of, everybody looks at Indiana and goes, this was a couple of years ago one of the worst programs in college football, and now they're at the top. Is that kind of like something you can sell and say, not that Central Michigan is the worst or anything like that, but like trying to build this thing back up in a new era of just getting people behind you, resources, and hey, the Chippewas are trying to win a MAC championship for the first time in 15, 16 years. We can go do it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's elements to it where it's like anything. It kind of depends if you're a glass half full or glass half empty person. You can always, anywhere in America can sit and talk about what they have or what they don't have, and you kind of choose to decide what you want to spend your time thinking about. But
just to confirm, you are glass half
full. Yeah. I'm very, very much a glass half full person. Try to be, at least. So these guys around here might tell you otherwise. But with one of the things that's really interesting is I listened to the president from Indiana speak, and they were talking about how they really put a plan in place for 5 years. and they really had behind the scenes made a commitment of like, okay, if we get really good at football and competitive football and we resource it, this is what it's going to do for us long term. So they spent some time behind the scenes positioning the institution to basically, as soon as the light turns to green, stomp on the gas. And then obviously they hired the right coach and the right staff, and those guys have done an unbelievable job with everything. But that was like, you saw total institutional commitment and alignment with incredibly skilled professionals that have the knowledge, skills, and abilities to do it. And when those two things get together and aligned, it's a totally different deal. That's why I imagine a place like LSU is so sought after. That is a place that is in Texas. Those places are willing to do whatever it takes to be competitive. And in today's college football place, if they're going to let you do that, and you can have the resources to do it, people are going to continue to do that. So, in some ways, it's a lot different than how college football has been, but at the same time, kind of all the players finally, you know what I mean? Like it's the same programs are kind of doing the same thing, just a different way. So, always interesting.
People want to come here. This place is sought after, and you talked about it a little bit. You're changing out like 50% of your roster, but that part is done. You were able to get your commitments in December. You're able to go through the transfer portal, and you have a lot of guys coming early to campus, which has to be very, very helpful.
Yeah, so we actually started way back on the 11th. Was the first? We had a first team meeting, and then I immediately jumped on a flight down to Charlotte for the AFCA. But we have every single player in the program, other than 7 high school kids that are still going to graduate, enrolled here and already going through the spring semester here in the program. So that is a humongous advantage for us. The high school kids coming in are from parochial schools that usually don't graduate or don't let you graduate early and get out of there. So they'll join us here in the end of May and hit the ground running. But I'll tell you what's been crazy is like the recruiting difference between a year ago versus now. Like when you first get here and the program hadn't, kind of just didn't really have like a strong footprint really in Michigan or really in the region or as in recent, you know what I mean? I'm trying to say that in the right way. So for us to get here and you talk about, hey, this is what we think we can get it to do, and you're really selling a lot of like hope and a dream, which to the players' credit, to come here and do that is huge. A kid like Angel Flores and some of the guys that we've signed, like for them to take that leap of faith and do that's a huge, huge honor to get a chance to coach those guys. But now you come back and you're going through this recruiting cycle, and you're a 7-win team, and you were 7-3 in your non-Power 4 games, and you're 4-1 at home, and going to a bowl game, and people are seeing you win on TV, and it is a totally different deal now where people are like kicking down the door to come here, and you got to be really, really selective. And now your evaluation process changes because, all right, well, now a bunch of good players want to come here that are good players and good kids. Well, how do we evaluate them to be the right fit and play the most football here? Because again, what we're trying to do is recruit kids to come play football and graduate from Central Michigan, not come here for, if it works out that way, great, but we don't want kids to come here with the idea that I'm coming here as a stepping stone to go somewhere else. This is a great place. This is a terminal institution for 99% of the people that ever enroll here. So that's the thing. We want to keep our eyes on that prize and keep doing that. But recruiting's been fantastic, and we'll start in on this 27 class and hopefully be done here by May with the 27 class.
I was going to ask you, is that the biggest thing? Like when you look back and go, we made the biggest headway doing this, because there is a lot of new year to year, but is it just the results on the field so people can see the product of, yeah, they can win there at Central Michigan with this brand new staff, or is it something else?
No, I think that's kind of like that's like the icing on the cake, like the little bit of validation. I think our big thing here is people based. Like we want relationships, and we want to invest in people, and we want people to understand, like, we kind of view recruiting here as like everybody's got nice facilities, everybody's got enough tradition and history they can sell, everybody's got cool uniforms and gear. What about our experience here makes it unique? If I go visit Western and I go visit Eastern and I go visit Michigan State, and what makes it unique about Central? And to me, the people has always made that difference and will always continue to do that here. Like when you come to Central, it is like a real family. It is not like the rest of college football and the college experience where it's everybody's like checked out or disengaged. Like everybody's deeply invested here in each other. And I think that goes a long way. And it's one of those things like you can't really put that on a brochure and you can't really tweet that out or put it on Instagram. But when our recruits get here and they are around it, they see it, they feel it, they can absolutely tell it's different than when they visit other places. So that to me is the number one thing, is when we have such a high hit rate of when we get the people on campus and go through a visit experience here. They see that the people here at Central make your experience, they invest everything so much into you to make your experience unique and successful and supported in every way. Then as a result of that, we have won games and had good enough players. But man, we're really, really excited about this class we brought in, because like you said, it's a huge deal. Like you're replacing 50%, over 50% of your roster. So the class that we bring in here in this one is going to be a huge foundation for basically how this thing's going to go.
Some cool news earlier this week came out that your next 2 games against Eastern Michigan won't be played here at Kelly Short Stadium, won't be played down there at Rynearson Stadium. You guys are going to play in Ford Field. Pretty cool deal. What do you think about that?
I think that is awesome. That is one of the coolest ideas and one of the most creative things. They kind of approached me in the late stages of it. I think that had been done prior, or been working on pretty heavy prior to my getting hired. But it is just a huge, huge testament to our administration how cool this is, to be able to get exposure down in the Detroit area, to be able to share it with an in-state rivalry like Eastern, to be able to do it at that venue, which again, to me, I kind of knew this was in the works when I was talking about this with our bowl game. Like the more reps we can get at Ford Field and you make that kind of a destination spot and more acclimated and I don't know, just at ease with the whole process of playing there, where it's almost like an expectation. I think this is a great experience for our kids. Hopefully we're going to try to do some things where that week we can get tied into the Lions or in the community down there. But that will just be such a cool experience for our fans, for our alumni, for our students. You get a cool road trip. Might be able to sneak in an extra home game on some of those years. So it'll be very cool.
I like it too, because they're positioned to be the midweek Maction games, and it's tough to draw fans, because that's the one thing people will be like, now you lose out on a home game, or Eastern loses out a home game. It's tough in the middle of those weeks when it's 12 degrees and it's snowy. You get to go inside at Ford Field on one of those Wednesdays or Tuesdays, and as you mentioned, there are a ton of Chippewa alums down there. I think that's going to be really something special next season.
Dude, you talked about it. What did you learn the first year? I was kind of, in my naivete, I was a little salty when we drew playing at Ford Field for the bowl game the day after Christmas, because I really thought that, I was like, man, it's so close to Christmas. That's going to really hurt our fans showing up and our attendance. And a couple of old timers that have been here for a while, man, they were all like, listen, man, I'm telling you, our fans are going to show up. You were one of them. And I was like, man, I just don't see it. And those dudes, our fans were unreal. They filled up the entire side of Ford Field.
With an ice storm that day, too.
Oh, I'm telling you, it was like, I was floored with our fan support. And I think it's one of those deals where the more we can come down and get that experience going for those guys, and they start coming back up to Mount Pleasant some. And like you said, it's a great way to make the Maction games a better experience, an enhanced experience, where it's at a better venue. You're going to get more support. I shouldn't say better venue, different venue. You know what I mean? Like all of that just adds up. And I think that was such a creative way from Ms. Full and our administration to do that. I think that is so cool.
I think it's telling. Everybody can go look online and see what the attendance numbers were for the MAC championship with a team in the state of Michigan this year, and then what the attendance numbers were in the bowl game this year. And again, it just shows, like, Chippewa fans, they come out to Detroit, and there are a lot of them down in that area, and they love football here.
Yeah, it's awesome. And the other part, too, is, like, I said this during the year, but probably the most humbling thing that happened the whole season was, like, you lose, it sucks. It's like the worst thing ever. It feels bad, especially if you don't play your best. And if you don't perform well, you represent so many people at Central, so many different people that you always want to I know you can't win every game. It's hard to win every game, but you always want to play your best. And I can't believe how many of our alumni and fans and donors reach out, even when things don't go your way, reach out to you and support and let you know how happy they are and excited and things are heading the right direction. Like, I can't say enough about our fan base about just how supportive they are. And every time they run into our players, it's always a great experience with those guys. And other than some of the random gamblers on the online and some midweek action games, it's all been pretty good.
Yeah, it's intense. Well, the other new thing, when new coaching staff comes in, usually that means new uniforms, and that was a big thing right before the season started. So we got Nick on camera over here. Nick, can you pass us the helmet? I love the uniforms, but the helmet is my favorite, and I'll have you take this. I just wanted you to kind of go through with the fans, talking-wise, like how did you design this to be what it is?
Okay, so there's a lot that went into this, believe it or not. So when you get hired at Central, there's a couple things. Is that Central Michigan has a really unique color scheme. Really, really rare, really unique. Very regal, very bold, very collegiate. The other piece is that we don't have a mascot. Central doesn't use a mascot, and there's a lot of imagery that you don't want to, you can't use. In 1989, the institution with the Chippewas decided, hey, we're going to move forward not using these images. So when you think about it, designing a uniform here is pretty tricky because it's a unique look, and you can't have if you don't use a mascot, you don't really use a lot of different imagery. So I started doing a ton of research on the Chippewa people and the Ojibwe and the Anishinaabe, which is all kind of from the same original group. So they started out in like Newfoundland, New York area out on the East Coast, and they migrated west until they hit the Great Lakes and they found all these rice fields and fresh water, and they really settled here. So one of the biggest misconceptions about Native Americans, like they're not all like war tribes. So they're a conservation minimalist tribe, very peaceful tribe. So the one of the things is, so the triple, there's a lot that goes into this. So that was kind of the initial overlaying thing. So let's talk about like the base color first. So the base color is, we wanted to find our very own unique maroon, and this is the finish on this helmet is what's called anodized. So that way it's got a pretty cool trick where maroon is a very difficult color where a little too much of one drop can turn it red or brown or purple one way or another really quick. So anodized, what it does is it kind of tricks your eyes to catch the light and capture the light, so it always blends it perfect. So one of the things that we had to do when we first got in, and credit to Riddell because they came up with this, they worked really, really hard and came up with our own custom paint, was we got the brand new jerseys from Adidas, and we went and did photo shoots with them in the daylight and underneath the stadium lights. And then we redid them when the jerseys were dry and redid them again when the jerseys were wet, when they were covered in sweat. So we took the balance of all of those different combinations, and they were able to match the maroon exactly perfect with the anodized finish. So that's how, after several tries, came up with the exact perfect maroon that matches our uniforms correctly.
I remember reading too, that maroon, that shine off of it, you wanted that to resemble the shine off the lakes, correct?
The Great Lakes. So which is, again, my brothers lived in Michigan for a long time, but that is a huge point of pride up here. So that's a cool thing for us with like the reflection of the anodized, with it not only helping out with the maroon, is that's the story behind it. The triple stripe that we wanted to do, well, let's start with the speeds or the Action C. The Action C is one of the most iconic logos and most recognizable brands there is, period. So to me, you want that big, large on both sides. We actually relied on our DFO, Miss Jetzer, and one of our offensive assistants, Nick Belay, who went here for undergrads. But the decal is 3.25 inches tall. It's the exact same size as when they played here when Lefevre was here, which looks pretty good because once you put the stripe on, there's not unused space, so the size of the logo matters. And then the other thing that's kind of strange about the logo is you actually measure from the entire logo, not just the letter C, so the underline counts. So when you start doing all the math on that, that stuff, that factors in. But then
you were considering too just a C on one side, right? And you ended up going with two.
We absolutely went through that in the initial runs because we kind of like the Steelers and like the old school vintage and keeping things plain and simple. So that was without the ability to use imagery and a bunch of mascots and logos. We wanted to honor the Chippewa people they're a minimalist tribe and a conservation tribe. We wanted the uniform itself to be minimalist and conservative in nature. So that is the way that we could honor the tribe. And we did that. One of the things that we did is the triple stripe on top, because the triple stripe represents the Anishinaabe people is the Ottawa, the Potawatomi, and the Chippewa people. So that they have the fire of three, the confederacy of three flame confederacy, three fire confederacy, I believe is what it's called. But those three tribes made up the Anishinaabe people, which kind of blended together in the Great Lakes area between Canada and Michigan. So the three stripes represent the three tribes that came together to make up the Anishinaabe people, with the gold stripe in the middle obviously being the Chippewa. And then on the back of the helmet, we're obviously we are represented with our conference affiliation with the MAC and the great state of Michigan, which we also have on the back, which is just, the more you learn about Michigan and how much it means to people, and all the different cool parts about it, is just, it's hard. Like I'm a mountain guy. Like I love to get out west as much as I possibly can, but you can do that in June and July when the snow melts out there. But the problem is the weather is so freaking nice here in May, June, July, August that like you don't want to leave ever. So I'm now in this internal conflict of like I gotta be deprived of the mountains. So, but yeah, we wanted to make sure we honor the state of Michigan. The other part's crazy is like, when you basically draw a line across Kalamazoo, the rest of the state north, we're the Division I institution. We're the ones that are sought after. So we don't ever want to lose sight of that. And then one of the things the other piece that we did, the final piece was, one of the final pieces was the front bumper, and the back bumper was honoring the 1974 national championship team with Coach Kramer and Coach Duramity. So half the helmet said Kramer and half the helmet said Duramity, and then the front bumper said 1974 to honor that year. And we're coming up on the anniversary of the 79 team that went undefeated, which will be really cool. And then we went with gold face mask to balance it all out. So again, like I said, the gold is really important for us to have vibrant, because we're the chips and we're fire up, and that is the kind of the gold represents the sunlight and the brightness and the fire that is tied to the Chippewa people and our mascot. So our helmet, though basic looking, tells
one of the best in college football.
Tells a pretty vibrant and good story. And the other piece too that I really like is that we look the same every week. You don't see us on TV and you wonder who we are. You're going to see the same uniform from us over and over, and some brand recognition. And again, there's a lot of other cool information that we put together with the actual uniform itself. And so a lot of the story that we tell with the helmet is told, again, through the uniform itself, with the minimalization, the minimalist look to it. But yeah, it turned out, we're happy with how it turned out. Like even the little things like the accent with the white chin strap and to balance the whole thing out, and yeah, it looks sharp.
Cool. So we got the helmet in the office, and now we're actually gonna get up and we're gonna go check out the rest. You got some cool things in here, so you want to do that with me?
Got a lot of knick-knacks, you bet.
All right, let's start on this side of the office. I know you had Dan Lefevre come in here. This poster's awesome, man.
Yeah, so we're making some old school posters. So kind of our big thing when we got here was there was a lot of vintage, old school throwback stuff. So I always thought those like Wheaties and Sports Illustrated posters you would get that were folded up were always really cool. And they always had, like Carl Malone, the mailman delivers, and all those old school 90s ones. So we had our graphics team here make a couple of permanent posters for some of our prominent players, Dan Lefevre and Cooper Rush, and we'll get some more of those made, and pretty cool. So we've actually sent these posters to those guys. I think Dan was dying laughing when he saw his. So those are just a cool little knick-knack thing. And you got the 74 championship team over there and Lefevre. So that's across from my desk. So it's just a cool way for me to sit there and remind myself every time I pop up of all the cool history and tradition they've had here.
Lefevre holding the Victory Cannon Trophy, 1974 with Roy.
Coach Kramer.
Is this because he is from Chicago area with the Bear, or is that just
I think it was just with Danimal. I didn't get into the whole creative background, but the Rush awesome. Delivery on Cooper Rush is fantastic. That one turned out great.
It is. He's even got. I remember he wore those. He wore the Fire Up chips on the sleeve. So that's pretty cool. All right, so we had to kind of maneuver your office so we could sit in here, but let's walk around here, and you got a whole bunch of stuff over here.
Yeah, I got old bunch of old knickknacks and whatnot. So I guess
what do we got down here?
Probably the coolest thing I got over here is my wife. I love the video game Red Dead Redemption 2, and my wife hand painted the the mountain range from up there and made this for me for Christmas. So it's got the bullet caps, and on the back has the entire map of Valentine. And,
Wow.
and she's incredibly creative.
That was this Christmas
lady.
she got that for you?
2 Christmases ago,
Okay.
she made it for me. So I always ask for one. She's very creative, so I always ask her to make me one thing. But yeah, there's just a bunch of stuff up here. I had a couple people. The Funko Pop thing kind of got out of hand just because somebody sent me. Long story short, somebody sent me Doc Holliday, one of my former players.
Mm-hmm.
I went online and got Wyatt Earp because I was like, I didn't even know what these things were. But then if they had Doc Holliday, they had to have Wyatt Earp. So then I bought Wyatt Earp for $8. And I was like, well, do you want George Washington? And I was like, well, yeah, of course I do. And then
You got the bald eagle down there. That's all I care
Bald
about.
Eagle, Washington crossing the Delaware, Marty and Doc from Back to the Future, Dayman and Nightman. So anyway, I ended up getting quite a few of those. But I got like the old school starting lineup action figures. I got only like running backs, fullbacks, and old linemen up
course.
there, which are hard to find. I actually got into collecting a little bit of that. So I go to some of those card shows and whatnot. But that's the first picture of my daughter ever right there of her face.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
She'll be happy to know that that did make the cut in your office. You got to
Yeah,
have her in here.
absolutely. One of the coolest things, I got the chance to speak at the Cool Clinic, the offensive line clinic this past year, so I got some mugs with Coach Wiley on it, which is really fantastic.
Can you get your belly to move when you say hut?
I'm on my way there. I'm on my way for sure. This is probably the coolest thing I have, is that this, so I'll try to do this as fast as I can. So I've had this chess piece back and forth for 13 years. So when I got my first head job my first year, we had a kid on the team, ended up was his team captain, phenomenal kid. Gets done that year. We were terrible my first year. Oh my, as bad as you could ever be. My second year, he graduates. He's the valedictorian of the school. He graduates and stays on staff and coaches with me the following year in 2015 because he's getting ready to go into special forces training with the military. So the next year we go 10-1 and we're really good. And one of the things I do every year is I work in like a theme of some kind. So that year's theme was revenge, and it was the Count of Monte Cristo. So the two main characters are the thing that happens in the story is Edmond Dantes and Count Fernando Mondego. They do this thing throughout the movie where they give each other a chess piece. This movie takes course over like 17 years, and this chess piece, whoever's king of the moment, they get the chess piece, and they share this with each other. So whenever one of them has a big accomplishment, they share this chess piece with each other. So my big, we won 2 games my very first year as a head coach. My next year we win 10 games and crush it and do great, and that was the theme. So when this guy left for the military, he wrote me this big, long, super nice letter to go into Special Forces, and he went and became a Green Beret. And he explained like how that experience was great for him, and the Count of Monte Cristo was a big deal, and he gave me. He's like, now that you have won here and you're going, he's like, the king's to you, king. You're the king of the moment. King's to you.
Yeah.
So for the last 13 years, that chess piece has traveled the planet Earth wherever he is, going through special forces, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. He and I keep in touch, and whoever has like the major achievement, no matter where we are, we box it up, package it, and mail it across each other to the whole. So this thing has been all over across the planet Earth with one of my former players, and for the last 13 years, and we'll keep doing that till.
That's really
One
cool.
of us isn't around anymore, so that's one of the coolest things I have. So that means
That's
a great
truly
deal.
a tangible relationship you guys got.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Oh, yeah.
awesome.
Unique guy, Texas boy, big Sam Vaughn, pretty cool guy. So
And then the last thing you want to look at is this flag that you got on the wall.
unbelievable. So when I first got here, Coach Riedel, his dad is a great woodworker, and his dad and mom made this and painted this for me. So you can see I matched it perfect to the wall, and how freaking perfect this is. So I'm a big American patriotic supporter, and I love American history. So to get that up in the office, and it looks fantastic. So yeah, we wanted to kind of I always thought it's like, head coaches' offices. I'm trying to make it a little bit more, like I said, a throwback and fun to be around here as opposed to stuffy and intimidating. So there's a lot to worry about in the world. You don't have to do it when you're sitting around in here. So.
Hey, we're out of time. We can't get to the Blackhawks stuff. Darn. All right, well, thanks for the tour of the office. I mean, I know we had to kind of move things around to get the sit down in here, but you got some cool stuff in here.
Yeah, a bunch of, to me, I know it all kind of looks weird or whatever, but a lot of this stuff has sentimental attachment to former teams and players of mine. And To me, that is what you do this for, is to have those relationships that last you a lifetime, and good little reminders as much as you can possibly get. So in the the break in the days of emails and Excel files and people calling and complaining, you get a chance to look at something, or it spikes a good memory for you.
No editing here. Our mic is falling, but I appreciate you holding up. We only have a couple more questions.
That's right.
Well, what's next? I mean, you got through this first season, and you got spring ball coming up, and
man, we literally have every single day planned out between now and August 5th. So right now we'll do, it's not really like a big season review. As a staff, we've really kind of but had been acclimated to this conference. So now it's about making the tweaks and adjustments based on our recruiting pipelines and our roster development and what we're going to have to do in this conference to be competitive. We'll review that over the next couple of weeks, and then we'll go out on the road recruiting only in the state of Michigan through the last week of January, and then we'll get back, and then we'll pound a lot of football all through February, and then March will be installation meetings, and then spring break, and then when we come back from spring break, you basically start spring ball. So in the month of April, there's that soft break right around Easter. So you basically have half of spring ball right before that, half of spring ball right after, and we'll conclude on Wednesday the 22nd will be the spring game, and that'll be at night, so that way we get to do it under the lights, and we're ready for the first game against New Mexico, which we didn't get to do last year. We did the spring game in the middle of the day and then had to figure out a day during fall camp to get under the lights for the San Jose game. So we'll knock that out on Wednesday, and then we'll go right back out on the road recruiting all through the first couple weeks of May, and then start our OTAs when the high school kids will get here in late May and June, and then we'll start up the summer workouts and be ready to roll, man. It's all here again.
Wow. Can't wait. I remember you guys got hired last year, and I had a trip planned to England. It was conveniently right when you guys had your spring game, so I'll make sure to be there this year.
Yeah. It'll be all right. England probably wasn't too bad, though.
No, it was pretty cool. Well, hey, thank you so much for doing this, and from everybody. I mean, I know so many people have come up to you and said thank you for everything you've done for Central Michigan in just 1 year, but truly, thank you for coming in here. You've obviously embraced this culture. You can see it in everything you talked about with the helmet and how important people that have come before you up here are, and you're continuing to live out the tradition of Central Michigan football, and obviously you guys had a great first season. So thanks for everything that you've done, and looking forward to next year.
Man, I really appreciate all the support. I can't thank everybody else enough. Like this, I jokingly say this, but I'm serious at the same time. But like, my superpower as a head coach is that I don't care that I'm a head coach, because I'm not in my brain. I'm not supposed to have gotten this job. You're not supposed to go from coaching as a position coach at an academy to becoming an FBS coach. So, like, to me, this is this is the greatest honor I've ever had in my entire life, is being a head coach here. So I want to do everything I can to represent this place with dignity and make sure that we're doing everything the right way, and it's an inclusive program for everyone that has helped build this place so strong for so many years. So I'm so glad, getting a chance to meet Coach Kramer this past year, and Coach Dramedy stopping by all the time. It's the amount of good people that are associated with Central Michigan and Central Michigan football blows my mind. And it is the coolest thing ever, getting to do this. So thank you guys so much for your support, and looking forward to a better year too.
Can't wait. All right, we wrap up the show. 3 words. We need them from you, Coach.
Fire up, Chips.